Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to India Global Forum. We're live here at the Taj Hotel. So we're going to turn our attention now to investing in India and exporting from India as well. And as the drumbeat gets louder for a free trade agreement between the United Kingdom and India, let's really zoom in now on what this is going to mean. We've heard earlier today about the importance for BT. We've heard from Excel Partners, from Build AI, from Tech Mahindra, and from TCS. Let's turn away from technology and have a drink. Why not? So Diageo, as everyone here will know, one of the world's largest producers of spirits and beers, and here to discuss why India is such an important market, not just for the UK in terms of exports, but also how Diageo supports India's export drive. A very warm welcome now to the CEO of Diageo, Ivan Menezes. How are you?
Very well. Edie, great to be here.
Wonderful to have you here. Tell us first of all why India is such an important market for Diageo.
Oh, how can it not be? This is an amazing consumer market and a market that loves whiskey. You know, one in two bottles of whiskey consumed around the world is consumed in India. And when you look forward, I mean, the demographics are so attractive with economic growth, with the technology shifts, with tourism, with socializing and social mores changing. This is really a very attractive market for us, and we're very excited about the growth potential and the fact that for people who choose to drink, like in elsewhere in the world, they are drinking better. So we're really seeing the premium end of the market do very well.
Interesting.
So we love the market, love India.
Give us some numbers around that. What does that mean in terms of export numbers from the UK to India, for example?
Yeah, so it's still small, right? Of all the whiskey, that's Scotch whiskey represents 2% of the whiskey in India. The tariffs are very high, 150%. And again, with the FTA talks happening, we really hope that we will get to more reasonable levels of market access. Now, 85% of the Scotch that gets shipped to India goes into making local whiskey. And so it's produced in India, bottled in India, and we have a lot of that as well. We have brands like McDowell's, which is bigger than Johnny Walker worldwide in terms of the number of bottles we make. So the potential is significant because it plays into the underlying consumer trend. I'd say the other thing that's going on is 1 in 2, 50% of the market is illicit or evades tax. And that's a huge loss of revenue for the exchequer at the state and at the central government level. And so regularizing the market, I think, is a real boost to revenues. You know, a company like Diageo, we contribute 35,000 crores to the state and central government exchequers. Just
Put that
us.
into dollars or pounds?
$3.5 billion
Dollars.
Pounds. Roughly 3.4. So it is significant. Most of the state governments today, post the GST regime, alcohol taxes are a big source of revenue, which supports development and everything else, education and what the state governments have to do. So regularizing the market, supporting people drinking better, not more, because we really do not want excessive consumption from people who choose to drink. It is really about making these occasions special, and the state gets more revenue. You cut out the underworld and the illicit market. Consumers have a better experience. So we see it as a real win-win-win, and we're hopeful that in these FTA discussions, whiskey gets, the tariffs get reduced.
Well, we'll come to the FTA in a minute. Tell us, you've talked about importance for UK exports, importance for India, what it gains there. What about exports from India to the rest of the world that use Diageo's products?
Sure, we think there's very good opportunity there as well. Our largest Indian brand is McDowell's, number one. It gets exported to 22 countries. But what we're really excited about is we've been creating the top end of whiskey, as there are other very good whiskeys. You know, there's lots of super single malts coming out of India right now, very premium priced. We just have introduced one called Godawan, which is named after the great Indian bustard, which is on the watch list. I mean, it is nearing extinction. And so this whiskey is made in Rajasthan, from barley, 6-row barley in Rajasthan, aged there, and it's priced higher than Johnnie Walker Black Label. And we think there's an enormous export market over time, just like you have Japanese whiskey all around the world. Taiwan has done a great job. So I'd say we're just at the early stages of seeing top quality Indian whiskey getting exported. I would also add gins. There's phenomenal gins being created in India right now. And gin is on trend worldwide. And the botanicals and the flavor profiles and the craft that India can bring to gin, I think we're just at the early stages of that being an enormous export market too.
Well, then let's, this whole conference is about reimagining the UK-India relationship. The FTA, Free Trade Agreement, hopefully will be a very large part of that. What are you hoping to see? What are the opportunities we might gain from it?
Well, there's clearly, both sides have a list of opportunities that cover a variety of sectors. I think as I speak in my role as CEO of Diageo, or for the Scotch whisky industry, I also chair the Scotch Whisky Association. I mean, our big hope is that we will see the removal of tariffs on Scotch whisky. You know, there are lots of other luxury products that have lower tariffs than Scotch whisky. And if you look around the world, India is an outlier in terms of how high the tariff, 150% is. So, and reducing the tariffs actually will enhance the exchequers at the state and central level, will make more money. You will you'll create more jobs, because a lot of the Scotch whisky goes into blending and making Indian whisky. And you will remove the illicit market or reduce it. So it's good for both countries. It's obviously good for Scotland and for the UK exports, but it is also good for the Indian consumer and for the government coffers and the revenues. So we're hopeful and encourage really the teams that are negotiating this to get a breakthrough.
What are you hearing? Come on, give us some back.
I'd say it's more encouraging than ever before. I mean, the fact that both prime ministers are very committed to getting to a free trade agreement, I hope by Diwali. And of course, a free trade agreement is negotiation, right? There's give and take on both sides. Scotch whisky is on the table. So I'm more hopeful and optimistic than we've been in a very long time.
Excellent. You think it'll happen by Diwali? Good moment to break out a whiskey, is it?
For sure.
So tell us about the trends that you're seeing within India as the country develops, as people change, as they become smarter about drinking, how they're drinking differently. Tell us about that.
Yeah, a few things. One is I think, when I was growing up in India, till I was in my mid-20s, you would never go out to a bar or restaurant, right? And you would not drink at home with your parents' friends, right, in your mid-20s. You fast forward to today, and I'd say social norms have changed dramatically. People are socializing outside the home in a much bigger way. You're seeing the development of bars and pubs and restaurants and hotels, which are being frequented by large numbers of middle and upper middle class consumers. So what we see is a generation of young Indians And I will qualify for those who choose to drink, because again, a huge proportion of the population doesn't drink, and we have no interest in converting them to drink. For those who choose to drink, what we're seeing is that they are, as I talked earlier, are drinking better. So they're moving to more
What does that
premium
mean?
brands.
More premium meaning what?
Scotch whiskey rather than Indian whiskey. So, or a high-end Indian whiskey as opposed to a lower-end Indian. So people are trading up, and we're seeing the cocktail culture is alive. People are making very interesting drinks. We're seeing new categories develop. I talked about gin. There are terrific entrepreneurs who are now building fantastic gin brands. We took an investment in one of these companies that makes gins called Greater Than and Hapusa. You look at craft whiskey and single malt whiskey, enormous interest, young entrepreneurs investing and building new brands. So I think it's a vibrant sector. It's, to use industry jargon, it's premiumizing, and consumers are experimenting, and both at home and outside the home. And it's not just in the big metro cities. You are seeing it right across the country. And so we remain very excited about the future of this market.
Let's talk about sustainability, because we know that it is one of the biggest concerns. You talk about your market being a lot of young, educated, up-and-coming folks within India, of course within the UK as well. Sustainability is something that as consumers they also care very deeply about. I'd love to hear your commitments towards increasing sustainability, towards the Sustainable Development Goals. Tell me what's important to you and what you're doing.
Yeah, so I'm really proud that Diageo has really ambitious stretching goals here that we've set and publicly declared and are committed to. The first is to get to, on carbon, on sustainability, to get to net zero by 2030 in scope 1 and 2 in our direct operations. To reduce, and by the way, we haven't jumped on this bandwagon in the last few years. We've had an ambitious set of goals set over a decade ago. And we've had remarkable achievement in the past decade in both cutting carbon and water by 50%. And we've now set another set of stretching goals. So it is around carbon impact, water impact. And water is broader than just, I mean, we will reduce the amount of water it takes to produce a drink by another 30%.
How's that possible? Because I thought you used quite a lot of water to produce
No,
whiskey.
we have amazingly, there's new technologies, a great amount of efficiency. All the water that's used in the manufacturing process that doesn't go into the bottle gets recycled. So we are cutting down water use, and we're very focused on it. And I would say in water-stressed areas, we are committed to replenishing the water we take out. And then the community side.
How do you do that? How do you replenish the water you take out?
You can do things as simple as creating reservoirs and wells and get water from the sky. You can. A lot of it is ensuring the water that, in manufacturing processes, a lot of water goes to waste, and we actually treat it, and it goes back into the local communities. So there's. This is not easy stuff, but it's what excites our people, and we're investing behind it. It doesn't come for free. It takes serious investment, and there are new technologies that we're constantly looking for. So, for example, on energy, you use a lot of heat in a distillery. We are now moving to biofuels, and actually both India and Africa, we're very advanced in using biofuels, rather than tankers of oil coming into your factories. And so every aspect of the business, we're looking at that. And as I said, the goals through 2030 are ambitious. The other aspect is on inclusion and diversity, where we, in 2015, in our business in India, we have about 9,000 employees. I think we had about 7.5% of them were women. If you fast forward today across the employee base, we're 22% women. But if you look at the senior levels, our CEO of this company, which by the way is a listed company in India, is a woman, Hina Nagarajan. Our executive committee is half women. The senior managers now are 31% women. You know, in the liquor industry in India, this would be unthinkable. And what I'm really proud of, we are changing the norms. And the final aspect, which is really important for our business, is what we call positive drinking or reducing alcohol harm. And we have significant high-impact programs on drink driving is still a problem in India.
Yeah.
So we have this Road to Safety program, which we work across the states and the central government and the police force. We've been doing it for many years to educate and help on drink driving. And it's having an impact. We are educating young people in schools on the dangers of alcohol. We are very focused in all our messaging to ensure there's moderation and not excessive consumption. So that's an area also where we're making a difference. And finally, on female empowerment, in the communities where we have our plants and distilleries, we have a number of programs which is oriented at getting women into the workforce and helping them to, and we have programs and investments behind that as well. And our water programs actually, which are in over 125 villages, the main beneficiary of having clean, accessible water is what it does for young girls and women.
Yeah.
And so that's something as well we are very proud of. So I'm really, our India team is doing an amazing job on all these fronts.
Let's go back to the amount of women within the executive board. I think it's an incredible achievement. How does that compare what's happening in India to other parts of Diageo?
Actually, in total, Diageo India is now doing pretty well. So say the Diageo Global Board actually is majority women right now. So we have more women.
How does that make you feel?
Fabulous! Love it, love it. And I'm a huge believer in, and I've lived this journey, because when I joined the executive committee of our company, I was the first non-white guy. It was all men, and I was the first non-white guy. Fast forward to today, it's a totally different company. And the power of diversity is not just doing good, it drives better performance.
Do you see that?
Oh,
absolutely. Can you give me an example?
Oh, I look at the performance of our company, and I can see the quality of decision making. And it's not just gender or ethnicity, it's thinking styles, it's getting people from who bring a different perspective. So I'd say the decisions, I would say, for example, how we handled the disruption of COVID and the speed with which the company moved to support our people and customers. And this comes from diverse voices. And so it's a no-brainer for me that there's enormous business benefit, reputational benefit in having diversity in an organization. And I mean, I've got a very simple rule. If you do not represent your customer base, you're disadvantaged.
How many women do you know drink whiskey? What's your percentage in terms of male, female split?
Well, worldwide, it's getting up there. I mean, women in the West, you see there are markets where it's up to 40%.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, whiskey is quite hot with women entering who are interested in cocktails, and they don't drink a lot, but it's part of their repertoire. Yeah.
Nearing the end here, we've got tough economic headwinds coming at us.
Yeah.
It's a pretty grim outlook. Worries about inflation. We've got, the U.S. slowdown looks very real. How does that look for you when you look at the economic picture?
We're clearly tracking it and watching it very closely. I would say our business tends to be more resilient, especially at the high end. I think bringing it back to India, actually India is a bright spot in the world right now. You know, the GDP outlook relative to certainly, you're looking at global GDP at 3. India is going to beat that handily. I would say the inflation. I mean, we're all used to inflation. It's
Yeah.
now such a big shock in the West.
Right.
It's not, these levels of inflation
Right.
in India is not a big deal. We're used to it. So I actually, it's hard to predict what the consumer impacts, what central banks will do, how sustained is inflation. I think all you can do is be extremely agile in reading it and adjusting, and that's kind of the approach we take as a small company. But we certainly look at all the scenarios, and we're fortunate in our category. There's a greater degree of resilience, so we don't take big shocks. But we've got to be very smart in reading the consumer in particular.
So we can't believe it, we've run out of time, but I did want to ask you, what is the best summer cocktail that you could recommend? If I was just going to have one, what would it be?
It depends where and when and what mood you're
Well,
in.
what about the barbecue we're going to have tonight for India Global Forum in the Taj? What would I have with my barbecue?
I would do a Johnny Walker highball.
Okay.
I'll talk to the bartender when I go out and tell them how to make a really good one.
Excellent. All right. A very big thank you to you, Ivan, for joining us here. Let's give him a huge round of applause.
Thank you, Edith.
Thank you.